Yes and no. Probably not. One of the biggest cultural aspects of investment banking, if investment banking was a culture of finance bros and Patagonia vests, the culture of working a lot. People are always asking me, my friends, family, comments, why do you have to work so much? How is there so much work to do? Why are you so stressed all the time? But most importantly, do you really work 100 hours a week? There's definitely a culture of working a lot, and I don't want to call it toxic, but there's definitely merit given sometimes to people that work a lot. And as you get absorbed into the thought of investment banking and this culture of investment banking, you tend to have the tendency to say, oh, I worked 130 hours last week. Hey, I barely broke 90 hours this week. And it's kind of like a badge, an achievement unlocked for that week. I thought I would never do it, but openly, I do it. I tell my friends that I've worked so much, and it's kind of like this weird feeling of achievement / relief, like ripping a Band-Aid off, and letting others know how much I worked and secretly getting a pat on the back for it by myself. There's definitely been individuals in banking who's worked literally 100 hours. And obviously, I would assume they slept sometime in between. It wasn't 100 straight hours. They took some breaks. But if you were able to measure every minute of a week and calculate how much of that time you actually worked, I'm sure there exists a banker out there that worked 100 hours. To give you a breakdown though, that would mean that this person worked from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. Monday through Thursday, worked 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on a Friday, and then also worked a total of 24 hours over the course of the weekend. That's a lot of freaking hours. And I think a lot of this depends on timing, how many deals you're staffed, whether or not all those deals just happen to go off at that time, or you have a bunch of MD requests that are coming in. It's not like these MDs are conspiring in a room to think, I'm gonna give Brian all this work all at the same time so he gets 100 hours. I would assume most people want analysts to be efficient, and having all this work to do all at the same time is not efficient. Bottom line, people have worked 100 hours. There's been times in my year and 3 months of working that I've definitely marked 80 to 90 hours of actual work time in a week because deals just happen to all go off at the same time. On the flip side, and I hope I don't get pushback from actual investment bankers out there that are watching my video, but I don't buy the fact that bankers are working over 80, 90 hours a week every single week. And by work, I mean literally working. You are glued to your chair on your computer working on something for a client or internally for those 90, 100 hours. I just don't think that's possible, especially week after week after week. And as a person who's in the field, and maybe I have it slightly easier than others, but I don't think that's actually the case. And I would argue banking, definitely there's a lot more work than other jobs, but most people in corporate jobs and jobs period can attest, no one is working straight for all those hours. I'm confident that during work from home, this has become even more apparent to people because there's all these gaps of time that you could go on a walk, take a nap, talk to your kids, talk to your family members, FaceTime your friends. And the reality is there's memes and jokes about how people are online shopping for most of the day during their work time or on Tetris trying to beat their high score. Once again, don't get me wrong, banking is demanding. People are working a lot. People are working more than the regular hours. But I don't find it probable that someone is working over 90-hour weeks every single week and they're working for every minute of those hours. But to give bankers credit, something that I touch on in almost every video that I talk about work in, which is every video, is the fact that we do feel like we're on call 24/7. I think as you get more tenured, you understand whether or not an assignment is going to come out for you later at night. You're not staying up 24/7 anticipating something to come in. As you get more tenured and understand the process, you know whether or not something's going to come in later or not. And I would argue most responsible managers tell you in advance, hey, I'm going to review this by this time, get it done. But that get it done timeline and that get it done threshold might be unreasonable when it is in the perspective of people from the other sides of various industries. So I don't think most places would hear managers tell lower ranked individuals, hey, I'm gonna get this reviewed by 10 p.m. That is definitely a relatively common experience in banking, and that's just because you are expected to work long hours and you're compensated for working long hours. A couple insights or thoughts that I have on this whole thing. I think things are made better or worse on this front with the existence of these bad boys. You are always kind of working because even if you're out, you have access to email, and that means people have access to you. And people have the common understanding that even when you're out, even if you're on vacation, they have the ability to call you and ask for help on an assignment or direct you to something, or if it's something that could easily be typed out through email. I think it's better and worse in the sense that you can take care of work through your phone. So let's say you have to go out, you don't have to bring your computer out with you, and many things can be taken care of over the computer. I think the worst part is what I kind of mentioned at the beginning, where you feel like you are carrying this work burden everywhere, and you know deep inside that people have access to you regardless of where you go. But this isn't only a banking thing. I think this is something that everyone can attest to nowadays. People have access to you. You have access to your work all the time, and it's just something that we're gonna have to live with as we live in this day and age. Another aspect of this, and I kind of cover this in my other videos touching this topic, but working from home, this whole quarantine COVID thing also made this better and worse. Like I said before, I don't think anyone is working straight for 100 hours, so you get to fill your time doing things a lot more. You can spend time with your family, go on walks, go for a quick exercise, eat, cook, so on and so forth. But on the flip side of that, it's hard to detach work from life now, and you really feel like you're 100% accessible because there's no more I'm going home and done for the day. But for bankers at least, I don't think that's a huge transition, given that when we go home, we don't expect to go home and just knock out. We're also accessible till a reasonable time. So in a weird way, for investment bankers, work from home has been a relatively positive transition. I think working from home for bankers hasn't been that big of a transition, and if anything, it allows you to de-stress a lot and fill those gaps in time with more meaningful activities. At this point, I've thought about it a lot to myself, especially in moments of frustration when I'm working super late hours. Why is this necessary? I think it's purely a function of capitalism, the market, and prisoner's dilemma. Every bank is always accessible, so if you're a bank that isn't accessible, then you're behind, and you're going to be that one bank that doesn't reply to clients 24/7, even though other banks do. And there is something to be gained about doing things faster than others because you can get out to the market faster. I will say, are there things that could have waited a day instead of ruining someone's night? Of course. Is there something that could have easily been done by Monday as opposed to by Sunday and not ruin someone's weekend? Yeah. But I think on the other hand, if I'm trying to be overly understanding, there is a reason why things are pushed. You have to go with the manager's decision making at that point. And bottom line, they're paying you to do this, so it is what it is. Benefits of working crazy hours. I think it forces you to have a perspective and the ability to make every minute count because your time is so limited and so drained by work. You know that every single minute of free time needs to be used towards something that you find valuable or productive or both. And that's something that I've really gotten better at and something that I've sucked at in my past lifetime, where I would just waste time, sit on my bed and watch YouTube all day, which honestly could be a valuable use of your time sometimes. But I think I've gotten a lot better at managing my time and understanding that this minute might not be available the next minute. So I need to use this as effectively as possible. On top of that, and I think this is a cliche answer that a lot of people give when they say, why do you want to work such long hours? But I think this is actually a valid reason. You get a very, very heightened experience in a concentrated amount of time, and you're quite literally working 4 years worth of work within a 2-year time frame. And there has to be benefits of that in gaining the reps, understanding how things work, being able to have that grit in working long, so that maybe in your next step, when you go to a field that is slightly less demanding, it's going to feel even more manageable as you have that background in working a lot and working very intensely. Any other benefits of working long? Time flies. See you guys next week.